Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me. In my continued pursuit to follow the dumping of chemicals in the sky, global warming, climate change, etc. So I was at a friend's house yesterday and they had the newspaper sitting there and I started looking at it, and finally I said, "Can I have this newspaper? There's just something I have to read." So if you've been watching my videos, you know that I take photos and videos of them dumping chemtrails, chemicals, maybe biologicals, in the sky. And I've been doing it since 2005, when I found out they were doing it after I went to a trip to Costa Rica, big zero birthday. And some people told me about it. I thought they were crazy. But I came back to Florida and I looked up at the sky, and lo and behold, it looked like we were under nuclear attack. All those lines coming from the beach. That began my investigation into the geoengineering, as Dane Wigington would call it, on geoengineeringwatch.org, and so many other websites, and so much other seemingly sinister and malevolent activity going on. 911 being exposed, Building 7 clearly free fell, demolition, a 5G network with radiating more microwaves which have serious potential to harm us. Is that why they're installing the system with artificial intelligence, which has serious potential to monitor us and tag us in different categories? The red category, you're dead. Yellow category, FEMA camp or training facility, maybe a slave. Green category, you'll go along with the new age and new world order globalism. Which one are you? If you're paying attention to the chemtrailing or 5G network or other activities by these psychopathic people, if they are all human, maybe they're hybrids, trying to bring us a global world order, if you're awake to that, you're probably a red dot. So if you want to stay in denial, you might make it to a yellow dot and just get in prison for a while and retrained. But if you want to deny everything, deny Christianity, deny religion, deny the inside job at 911, deny and say that Christianity is outdated, no longer needed. If you want to join all the pansexual, transgenderism, and other activities for a immoral, uncivilized society, then you'll probably get a green dot. You'll find your place in the universe. Anyways, there was an article I was looking at that I just could not believe that's in the newspaper. Climate change worsens, record heat fires. By Seth Bornstein and Frank Jordan's Associated Press. I don't want to read it all, but I'm sure you can go look it up on the internet. I'll read some of it. Heat waves are setting all-time temperature records across the globe. Again, Europe suffered its deadliest fire in more than a century, and one of nearly 90 large fires in the western U.S. burned dozens of homes and forced the evacuation of at least 37,000 people near Redding, California. Flood-inducing downpours have pounded the East Coast for weeks. So is there any doubt that these things are happening? No. But is there maybe some reason or some controlling force making these things happen? Geoengineering, as Dane Wigington and many other people declare, and trying to put the blame on humanity? There seems to be plenty of evidence that yes, they can do it, they are doing it. It's all part of summer, but it's all because it's all being made worse by human-caused climate change, scientists says. Witnesses abound. said Rutgers University climate change scientist Jennifer Francis. Japan hit 106 degrees Monday, its hottest ever. Records fell in parts of Massachusetts, Maine, Wyoming, Colorado, Oregon, New Mexico, Texas. And then there's the crazy heat in Europe, where normally chill Norway, Sweden, Finland all saw temperatures that they have never seen before on any date, pushing past 90 degrees. So far this month, at least 118 of these all-time heat records have been set or tied across the globe, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The explanations should sound as familiar as the crash of broken records. We now have very strong evidence that global warming has already put a thumb on the scales, upping the odds of extremes like severe heat and heavy rainfall. Stanford University climate scientist Noah Diffenbaugh said, "We find that global warming has increased the odds of record-setting hot events over more than 80% of the planet, and has increased the odds of record-setting wet events at around half of the planet. Climate change is making the world warmer because of the buildup of heat-trapping gases from the burning of fossil fuels like coal and oil, along with other human activities. And experts say the jet stream, which dictates weather in the northern hemisphere, is again behaving strangely." So I'm just going to skip some of this and go to the last half of this article. I don't want to read it all. So they got a picture here. 2 fighter fires have died, and dozens of homes have burned in the Carr fire as wind-whipped flames tear through the Redding area, California. And it is weird. I mean, we've all seen fires in the woods or even houses burned, but they never do this. Oh, look at the car. And strangely enough, a lot of trees back there are not burned. The trees are not burned, but the house and the car is. Huh. And this seems to be a common denominator in California, maybe other places. Are they using directed energy weapons? Microwave transmissions? Dumped heavy metals and inflamed materials into chemical spraying? How do we know they're not? We can see that they are dumping stuff. We also can see they deny it. It says here in the last part of this article, the world is becoming warmer, and so heat waves like this one are becoming more common, said Frederik Otto, a member of the team and deputy director of the Environmental Change Institute at the University of Oxford. Eric Fischer, an expert on weather extremes at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, who wasn't part of the analysis, says the authors used well-established methods to make their conclusions. So it seems like this is a seriously convincing, well-written press release for public consumption. They want people to believe. They're having all these people making all these testimonies. Georgia Tech climate scientist Kim Cobb said the link between climate change and fires isn't as strong as it is with heat waves, but it is becoming clearer. A devastating fire in Greece with at least 83 fatalities is the deadliest fire in Europe since 1900, according to the International Disaster Database run by the Center for Research on Epidemiology of Disasters in Brussels, Belgium. In the United States on Friday, there were 89 active large fires consuming nearly 900,000 acres. It certainly seems to me that these people working towards a global world order are attacking our resources. our whole society, the way we live, bit by bit. The first major science study to connect greenhouse gases to stronger and longer heat waves was in 2004. And I remember in 2008, I was in Bangor, Maine, and I had just received in the mail a new Nexus magazine that showed all kinds of pictures that the weather does have cycles. Even in the Middle Ages, they had a great warming period. Before that, they had an ice age. And I raised my hand during this Climate Change Institute lecture and had the magazine and waved it up in the air and started to say something. One of the guy whispered in the other guy's ear, and they immediately came up to the microphone and said, "We're sorry, we're going to have to cancel this meeting. The university needs this room." They did not want me to talk and show the magazine and the charts. You can go look them up. They took ice core samples from Alaska, Himalayas, all over the world, and they showed densities of debris and dust and then clear cycles. So you could see and draw graphs of the global warming and cooling cycles. Like I said, even in the 1930s or 40s, they had the droughts across the Midwest and all that crazy weather 80 years ago. So apparently there are cycles, and I'm saying it appears with the technologies they have today, they can probably exacerbate the changes or actually control the weather, trying to bring about a distressed society so they can bring about a global world order. So it seems. I mean, these newspapers are elite owned, and the material they publish in them, it seems quite convincing, but when you look up at the sky and see that they're dumping chemicals and do further research like in 911, and even weapons that the military shows off like laser beams coming out of planes and ships and maybe even satellites, and the HAARP transmitters all over the world, anybody can verify, HAARP, you know that they have the ability to control the weather. And all kinds of satellite images of the earth and thousands, maybe millions of videos and websites on the internet and books published I've gone over. Like this one. A case for climate engineering. So I see that this is in the newspaper, that's my point. And I know that there is a group of people out there who are not aware of what's going on, and they would believe this. But if they were standing in front of me and I were to point out the obvious dumping of chemicals and painting the sky pasty white with chemicals, maybe biologicals, they will refuse to believe me, even get angry at me. I've experienced it many times. So I just thought I'd have a little short talk about this article before I show this month's videos that I've taken during the course of the month when they were spraying, and some of the videos when they weren't spraying. See what you think. Leave a comment below. But it certainly seems they are dumping chemicals in our sky. Why? Are they controlling the weather? Are they bringing about all these disasters? Is there an end game, a global world order? Does it have to get worse before the people accept whatever rules and decisions of sustainability and surveillance of people and everything else they're going to do? So the people will obey and accept it, they have to make it worse. So it seems. See this month's videos I made? And again, leave a comment. July 17th, 2018. Tuesday. At 8 p.m. Rick Miracle video in the sky so that you can see what I can see. Now you have to admit that if you do something long enough and you practice, you're probably going to get better. And in this case, I think the powers that be are getting better at disguising the dumping of chemicals in the sky. But I'd like to think I'm a little bit awake. And I can see that straight line of dumped chemicals going from there to there. Or this one. I can see clouds, but I can see evidence of chemicals. Remember, clouds are supposed to be gas, water vapor. They don't blow like strings. So what they're doing is they're spraying parallel to the current wind, and then of course the stream of chemicals would blow this way, as you can notice. Straight lines blowing broadways. So a lot of the stuff in the sky in particular that should be blue behind the clouds, is pasty white with chemicals, as you can see right here. A very thin vapor. If that was water vapor, that would have already evaporated. But it's not water vapor. It's chemicals. So the anatomy of what they're dumping in the sky can be analyzed, and evidence can show that they are dumping stuff even when it's not plainly seen. When they spray broadways to the wind, like this one, the wind blows the line of dumped chemicals this way, and it looks like that. And it blows it apart like that, and like this. So anyways, right here you can see the straight lines embedded in the clouds of apparently dumped chemicals. And of course the million-dollar question is why? And you can go watch two videos. What in the world are they spraying? And another video, why in the world are they spraying? Or geoengineeringwatch.org with Dane Wigington, or many other videos on YouTube and the internet and books you can buy. Rick Marico reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. What are they dumping and why? July 17, Tuesday, 8:15. I just made a video, and I don't want to have to question myself, but I just looked up in the sky and said, son of a gun. The evidence is clear. Have you ever flown in a plane? You know the plane flies above the coverage. This dumping of chemicals is below the coverage. You almost wouldn't catch it unless you're paying attention. Short squirts. Left and right, crossing each other. What planes are crossing each other under the clouds, under the coverage? It's intentional dumping of chemicals. There's no other way to talk about it or think about it. Look, I'm panning to the right. So if there were two planes flying, they would have just ran into each other. This one's going this way. And it's not continuous dumping, it's small spurts of chemicals. So again, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to catch it. They're dumping all this crap in the sky, and they're disguising it. Here's another burst of stuff. It's a short, straight line, as you can see, of chemicals. Begins here and ends over here. Clouds don't form straight lines. Do they? Honestly. And they don't have little bubbles like this stuff does. So you can see all these little squirts of dumped chemicals. There's one. There's one. There's one. And this little squirt right here will turn into that. I've been paying attention since 2005, so I'd like to think I am a little bit educated. These little squirts will turn into powder like this. This one's already doing it. See it blowing in the breeze? Definitely a sprayed line, you can tell. Oh, he just dumped another one. See this? It's almost like they're dumping them skipping. Like you ever thrown a rock on the water where it skips? There's one. Way over here is one. And right over here is one. So he flew across the sky. Dump. Dump. And dump. The question is, what are they dumping and why? Rick Miracle reporting, paying attention, video in the sky so that you can see what I can see. July 17th, 8:52. I suppose it's never going to end. Obviously not trying to block the sun at 8:52, dumping chemicals in the sky. With these little skips today, non-continuous lines, as you can plainly see. And the residue of this chemicals they're dumping in the sky is this red stuff you see in the sky. The powder, not the clouds. The clouds are black. The powder is glowing red. There's the moon, of course. So anyways, the sun is setting, so the lines are not becoming as clear as they were just a second ago in this video. But if you pay attention, you can recognize dumping of chemicals. And straight lines. Do clouds form straight lines? No, they have puffy edges, not straight edges. So what are they dumping today, and why so much here in the mountains of North Carolina on this Tuesday evening, 2018? Rick Miracle reporting. What's going on? Is it concerning? What do you think? That's dumped line right there. That's blown apart. July 18th, about 8:15 in the morning. And as can plainly be seen, today's dumping of chemicals in the sky has begun. These little splotches you see were sprayed lines. Those are not clouds. So why are they doing short squirts today versus some days long spray lines? And they just put these little dumps in the air and they blow in the breeze like that, and like that, and like that, and like that, and that. It's like a ton of chemicals in the sky over towards the east. That looks like weather up here, but you can see behind it is all this stuff blowing in the breeze like strings. So there you have it. Geoengineering continues. Dumping chemicals, maybe biologicals, in our skies continues on this Wednesday morning. 2018 in the mountains of North Carolina. July 21, Saturday, about 9:30 in the morning. Straight lines, dumped chemicals in the sky. No mistaking it. Even short lines. As you can see, non-continuous. So what are they dumping? More straight lines. So tons of chemicals dumped in the sky this morning, here in the mountains of North Carolina. And you can see how they get fatter, like a big fat cigar. Then they start blowing in the breeze, falling like strings. So a lot of what you see here is dumped chemicals. Painting the sky, pasty white. Why? Should be blue like that. But here's a residue of some powder here you can see. No doubt about it. See, this is what happens when it starts to fall apart. It doesn't look like a straight line anymore in the center of this video. It'll start looking like this stuff right here. That will look like that. And that line will look like that. It'll get wider and wider, and then like that. Any doubts that they're dumping chemicals intentionally? Rick Miracle reporting. Video in the sky so that you can see what I can see. July 21, Saturday, 2018. About 10:30. And we have a nice little, was a second ago, a square cloud. But it's not a cloud. It was a sprayed chemical line, like the one right below it, if you can see it. So they make these little spray lines. If the video zoom will fix. And then they just have these chemicals drifting across the sky, like you can see here. And these straight lines of dumped chemicals. You see right there? So what are they dumping in our sky? And why? Should be pretty blue like this. And you notice you don't see any lines right here? All over the southwest. But over here on the east, southeast, and northeast, we can tell. You can see straight lines of dumped chemicals. So where they are spraying, they are. And where they're not, they're not. Don't tell me there's no planes flying today. There are. So some days they're just dumping tons of chemicals. And I suppose if I got in my car and drove up the interstate 50 miles or 100 miles, I would find out where they are spraying. Rick Miracle reporting. July 22nd, 10:30 in the morning on this Sunday, 2018. Rick Miracle here in the mountains of North Carolina, noticing no obvious spray lines. I see puffy clouds, which are gas, water vapor, but no spray lines. Interestingly enough, last night we had thunder and lightning, which is rare. And I think it's due to the layer of chemicals they dump in the sky, heavy metals. Maybe they short circuit the sky, whatever, messing with Mother Nature. But when's the last time you've seen and heard a lot of thunder and lightning, storm rain clouds? Remember when I was younger, it was all the time. So to hear it last night was kind of odd. Just like no spray lines in the sky right now would be considered odd if you considered the majority of days to be normal when they are dumping stuff in the sky. Just say, it's a bizarro world. What the heck is going on? Rick Miracle reporting. July 22nd, 2018. Sunday, about 10 minutes to 7 p.m. We just had one heck of a rainstorm. And I looked up at the sky after the rain stopped, and I said to myself, what the heck is going on? They are dumping chemicals right in the midst of the weather. You can't miss the straight lines. You'd have to be blind not to see them. Get this camera zoom to settle down. It's not normal air traffic. Number one, normal air traffic doesn't fly through the clouds. You've been on a plane before? You fly above everything. You look out the window and you look down. You say, what pretty clouds? So here you have it. Apparently an attack on humanity. The way I see it. Rick Miracle reporting. Video in the sky so that you can see what I can see here in the mountains of North Carolina. July 23rd. About 10 o'clock in the morning. I looked outside and I couldn't even believe this. Clouds everywhere. Blue sky there, and there, and there. But lordy, lordy, look what they're doing right there. Is there any question with these big X's in the sky that they're dumping chemicals, biologicals maybe, on top of the clouds? In the clouds? So if it does rain, whatever toxins they're dumping will come down with the rain. How can that be good for us? Notice elsewhere, it's blue, except for right there. Here's one plant spraying, excuse me. He just turned on the nozzle, as you can plainly see. Went into the cloud. Son of a gun. What the heck are they doing? Rick Miracle reporting. July 23rd. Monday. 6:30, 2018. It's been overcast all day, but as you can see, if you can peek through the clouds, obvious chemtrail spraying. Intentional dumping of huge amounts of chemicals in the sky. Two lines right there side by side. Overcast day. And if you can see through the clouds, as I said, intentional dumping of chemicals on top of the clouds. Would you put rat poison on top of your food? No. Then why would you dump chemicals on top of the clouds, which are going to rain water on everything, even the drinking water? Seems kind of concerning to me. Rick Miracle reporting. July 26th, Thursday, 2018. Rick Miracle here in the mountains of North Carolina. Video in the sky so that you can see what I can see. And everything you see is dumped chemicals. None of it is clouds. So what happens, it starts out with short squirt lines like this one. And then they blow apart and they become splotches like that one in the center of this video. That becomes that. You see they were straight lines here. So everything you see right there, it's not a cloud, it's not puffy, it's not gaseous, it's stringy. You can see it. So why are they painting the sky pasty white, dumping that much chemicals? At what expense? And what's the purpose? Clear evidence. The weather front has come through. Clear skies if they weren't dumping chemicals. But this is what happens when they dump a lot of chemicals. There's some straight lines there. Clear evidence here. And it turns into this. If you don't want to see it, you won't see it. But if it is true, which I believe it is, what are they dumping and why? Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. July 27th, 10 minutes after 1 o'clock on this Friday, 2018. Unbelievable amount of stuff dumped in the sky. As you can see, there's a cloud over there. They're round and puffy and gaseous. This stuff is blowing in the breeze and has ripples in it. Evidence of electromagnetic radiation. And you can see the sharp edges. That's one spray line that's blowing this way. This is all sprayed chemicals. Unbelievable. Look at this. No doubt about it. Electromagnetic radiation affecting the heavy metals that are sprayed. You can see the ripples. What are they dumping and why? There's clouds coming in this way. Rick Miracle reporting. 27th, Friday, about 6:30. Thought I'd make another video. I've been watching the sky all day. And these sprayed straight lines you see in this video right here turn into this stuff here. And all this white powder that's not clouds. There is clouds up there. So we can conclude the puffy clouds are being sprayed with chemicals. So here's a wide one here. You have to pay attention. Going this way. Used to be a thin one like that line, which is already getting thicker. As you can see. So that used to be one of those. So did that. And these. So there you have it with this weather front coming through. Supposed to get some rain. We also have a lot of chemicals being dumped. And here you can tell it's clearly a sprayed line, not a cloud. It's long and straight. Not like a puffy cloud, see? Puffy clouds don't come out long and straight like this one here. This was sprayed chemicals. So was that. That's a cloud. You can tell by the edges. The stuff in the background is all dumped chemicals, powder, biologicals. Who knows what they're putting up there? But the fact that they're putting anything up there doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. How about you? Rick Miracle reporting on this Friday from the mountains of North Carolina. July 29th. About 10 minutes after 10 o'clock on this Sunday morning, 2018. I was looking out my front yard, looked up at the sky, and noticed a jet flying in the mist of this white powder stuff in the sky. Doesn't look like clouds. So this jet, if you can see the line, was flying in the middle of it. Of course, dumping additional chemicals into the sky. Of course, the million-dollar question is, why? You can see the picture of the sky here with the two shades of pasty white and blue. That's not humidity, that's not clouds, that's chemicals. So we can say with some certainty, there's a lot of dumped chemicals in the sky today on this Sunday morning. And there's some clouds appearing to be coming from the north. So is somebody controlling the weather or putting chemicals into the clouds? It appears likely. A couple birds sitting on this wire here in my backyard. There they go. So there you have it. Just a little observation looking up at the sky, wondering why they're dumping this stuff. As I usually do. Pointing it out, paying attention. Has to be a purpose for it, and I can't see how it can be good for we humans or the birds, bees, trees, fish, amoebas, anything. What's going on? Rick Miracle reporting on this Sunday morning from the mountains of North Carolina. July 31st, 2018, the last day of the month. About 9 o'clock in the morning, and I see, as you can see, a pasty white sky. Clouds low on the horizon, but generally between the clouds, it's pasty white. Typical evidence of dumping of chemicals. And if you look closely, you can tell that some of these splotches, which were straight dumped lines, short straight dumped lines, by the way, and then they blow in the breeze and they become big patches of these sprayed chemicals, painting the sky pasty white. There's a pair of lines right there side by side. If you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't even catch it. So there you have it on this Tuesday morning. Plenty of evidence that they're dumping tons of stuff in the sky. At what expense and what purpose? putting these chemicals on top of the clouds as they're coming through on this front. Clear evidence. What's going on in your neighborhood? Rick Miracle reporting. Here's another straight little splotch line with this cloud stuff right on the edge there in the center of this video. You can tell it was a straight line. It's short. It's blowing apart. Rick Miracle reporting.